All right, let's go over it. So, patch 1.0.6. I want to preface my thoughts and opinions before I go over this. I do want to state some positives about the game, because this video might sound really negative, and I don't want it to sound just crazy negative. I don't want to sound like I'm bashing the game. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on anyone or anything like that. So I do want to preface my thoughts and opinions on this. The 1 through 45 experience is fantastic. The grind, the progression, the feeling of how we're progressing through this game and leveling up and building our characters, all fantastic. The actual combat of PvP, fantastic. There are some positives in this game. There's infrastructure in this game that I love. They've made some good changes. I do want to say that overall, this patch, I don't feel was a good one. And I do want to give my genuine thoughts and opinions. I don't want to just glance over a patch and give you some positive feedback when it's not good. I don't want to draw people to a patch where we're like, oh, well, Naz said it was good, right? And then they go and they see and they're like, I don't like this. Maybe you do like the patch, but I'm going to give my honest opinions on this one. I don't feel like this was a great patch in almost any way. And I'm going to go over each piece and my thoughts on it and how I felt checking it out, because we've just spent a little over an hour or two kind of exploring each system, and it feels awful. And I'll explain why after so short. I'm kind of just like, well, this doesn't feel good. I don't feel like anything, of value is added here. So let's proceed through the patch. Level progression changes. So actually, I do want to say that this part I feel like was a positive change. They're giving out daily free milk tea, which let's use our website here. Give me a second. This not working, but I want to make it work here. Give me a sec. Where is it? Paint. What? Media requests. Main game scene. Where the hell? Website. Found it. Okay. All right. So, daily milk tea. They've added this new item called milk tea. It gives you a 20% boost to your XP. You can buy this from a bartender for 4,000 silver. That is a silver sink. That's nice. If they need more silver sinks, good. They give you 3 free milk tea a day. So that totals 150,000 EXP, where you get a 20% bonus. This is a really nice change to help casual players get a little bit of an advantage, because obviously non-casuals get a lot of advantages. So I see no problem with this mechanic. It does speed up the grind a little bit, which in theory is good. 20% is a decent chunk. I think that's just simply good. The grind is way too long. I don't know if 20% is enough. Maybe 20% would be enough if there's more excitement in between the other content pieces that are offered. So I just think all in all, good, decent change on the milk tea. I see no problem with it. I don't know if they need to touch it, but I will reiterate that we are level 55. I have felt like I've hit a wall where it's just like not worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze right now, right? You're just pushing, and it feels like there is an absolute wall of grind ahead of me, and I have not hit the halfway mark to top level. 63, level 63 is apparently the halfway mark to hit top level. We're not even at halfway, which is insane to me, because I have been grinding a lot. So I still don't feel like 20% really promotes or doesn't really encourage me to just say like, all right, I want to start grinding again. But still, I do think it's a good change. I don't think it's a bad one. I have no problem with the milk tea. I think it's a solid little piece. Medium and large community land. I want to say I don't like this. Basically, we're able to get 3 houses. Small, medium, and large. Only 1 in the open world. I don't know why I don't like this. I just think it's kind of weird. The housing part. Like, I don't think we need 3 houses. The extra land bits, I don't mind that much. Because, you get the situation where maybe you have a small community land. You have a small open world land, and you're ready for a medium. You want that medium land piece. So, I don't know. I don't mind this portion, but I'm not sure why we have 3 houses. That part kind of gets me, because it's kind of like, I don't know, not the most immersive game, but why do we have 3 houses in one spot? I don't really like this that much. No real thoughts on that. Besides the land portion, like getting 3 parts of land, like if you have, if you have a medium plot in the open world and, you know, you get the extra, it's a balancing thing, right? To basically fix the one caveat that I'm talking about is if you have open world land, like a small, and you're ready, you're the level required for a medium, but there's no medium available, this solves that problem. So I get that. I'm not sure how I feel about the 3 houses thing. I feel like there could have been a better solution to this. The actual structures just seem, you know, it's like, why do I own a neighborhood? Am I some like rich person that's just buying empty houses? And I don't know, it feels odd. It does feel odd. Even if they wanted to even the scales out with like, you having, say, you know, more rooms because maybe the large houses have better rooms or something or whatever, you know, giving us like a barn or something. It's just weird that there are 3 houses. I don't know how to better explain that. Niter said the reason for the 3 houses is to speed up grind plus add materials to the market because there's not enough. He wants crafting costs to cheapen. Niter, this is not the way. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm not right, but the problem with crafting, and I've highlighted this in a Twitch highlight that I did not make into a video because I was losing interest in playing Ravendawn. So that is a highlight that is yet to be made into a video, but I describe what's wrong with crafting, and it's oversupply, not enough, or sorry, oversupply, not enough demand for crafting goods. And maybe I should detail that out. Maybe I should just publish that video, to be honest. But adding more supplies, maybe it's also a good effect, but that doesn't help crafting. I don't like that. Like making it so that we can make more stuff. The problem is there's not enough demand for our goods, right? There's not enough demand for our goods. So adding more supplies it just all dilutes it. I don't know. Maybe I'm not like I didn't go to school for economics or whatever would give me a better thought process on this, but I think my thought process is correct here. I don't believe that adding more raw goods to make the crafting cheaper fixes the problem with crafting, because at its core, there's not enough demand for the goods, the sails, the guns, the armor. There's an oversupply getting injected into the market. Personally, I mean, the TLDR of my other video that I was going to publish is that we can craft too much daily. If our oversupply hit us earlier, we wouldn't be able to craft as much, and it would lessen the amount that we could put on the market, which would create more demand for what available goods there are, right? In that theoretical change, you would also need to boost the EXP by a right amount, so we're not just like nerfing crafting, right? But anyways, let's move on. If that was the reason why, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think that also, like, more supplies does have an effect on trade packs, probably makes trade packs a little more viable. So I don't hate that portion because I feel like trade packs weren't in the greatest place, but that's a whole nother discussion. Let's move on. I don't want to ramble. Progression strength improvements. This is, I haven't felt this in any way. I haven't leveled yet, so I couldn't put a thought process on this. This is how we feel leveling up. I can't, if this has been altered in a better way, that's great. The milk tea, I've already touched on this. I like it. Culling spawns. I want to stop on this. Culling spawns could be a great mechanic. It is not. It's awful. I logged in. I was very excited to be able to just play the game. My thought process with culling eyes, and for those who don't know what culling eyes are, basically it's the idea and concept that mobs will drop these culled eyes. You bring them to a monk merchant and you get EXP and Dawn Essence. That sounds great. And you can only get them in non-peace zones, so people are going to fight over them. This is what we were led to believe. This is the mechanic. Well, I log in and I'm like, all right, I took from my land, sold my goods, and I'm like, all right, it's time to go try out culled eyes and grinding. So I grabbed a bounty board task and I was like, I'm going to go do the bounty board task. I grabbed dwarves and I was like, well, dwarves is probably too quiet. You know, I'm just going to go mess around on Gilead. And I get to Gilead and I can't find anyone. And I start killing, and then I find someone who's been grinding, seemingly. They have no culled eyes. And I'm like, why aren't there culled eyes here? Turns out that culled eyes are a mechanic where it's not everywhere in the world. It's not just in war zones. It's one spot in the world, like every 2 hours or something. There it is. It just popped. So the culled eyes spawn right here at Death Gazers for the next like 20 minutes. And it happens, I don't know, we did the last one like an hour ago, and we've been watching. Oh, there's another one here. So it seems like they pop up here and there random, but they're very limited. We spent about 45 minutes to an hour waiting on our first one to pop. And then when we went to it, the only one that popped was a single location in the Din area, which first off requires Hatterack rune unlock to even get there. And it's a one-way in, one-way out. We met two people who were lower level than us. They were the only people there. We did have a fairly fun PvP encounter with those two people. We won our encounter. We were able to fight them once. I turned in their eyes. First off, they were able to get back to me before I could get out of the cave. So I had to kill them. Well, I had to get away from them after killing them the first time to be able to go turn in their 33 eyes that they had collected. That gave me 38k EXP. With the 20% boost, it was 52k. Out of all that effort, the reward was mid. I did 2v1, basically finding two people that had been grinding. They each had 17 and whatever eyes. I was able to 2v1 them, so effectively taking two people's reward and not splitting it amongst anyone else. I turned in the eyes, and I don't know, that didn't feel that rewarding for that level of effort. And then when I went back there, I fought the same two guys. I killed them both. By the time I killed them both, the event ended, and I got 3 more eyes, and I turned in those 3 eyes for 3,800 EXP. That is a not good game loop at all. It's not good. It doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel organic. It feels like an arena. It feels like I showed up to an arena, which isn't the worst piece of content, but it definitely doesn't create any organic PvP experience. I was hoping that this mechanic would open up some more organic potential situations for PvP. It does not seem to do that. If I were to give any recommendation on this, more locations, it should always be available. Make it so that it's often included in maybe bounty board tasks, so you could, or maybe when you go to the bounty board, you could literally select the exact task. So let's pretend that the task or the Culled Eyes is currently on orcs, right? It's on orcs. It's on maybe Surians. It's on make it 4-5 areas in the game at all times. Make the culled spawns drop less. They don't need to be that rewarding even. You can make them drop less, but make it something where it's kind of always happening, and you can kind of just make the decision on when you're going to grind of like, well, we could go to a Culled Eyes spawn, or we could go to a not Culled Eyes spawn. Do we want more action or less action, right? And just make it so there's a chance you get action doing it, right? And then when you go to your bounty board, maybe one of the tasks specifically set aside and it says Culled Eyes. This is actively the Culled Eyes mechanic, right, or location right now. Would you like to do orcs? And you can go, oh, I'm going to grab my bounty board task. I'm going to grab the Culled Eyes one because I like to PvP, right? So that's a suggestion. Something that's more often that I can just do at all times. I'm going to say right now, if I go here, I haven't been there, but those are low level. What am I going to do? Like bully some people? Those are too high level. I can't even go there. I can't do Culled Eyes right now. And before we waited an hour for one to pop up, it was close to an hour. And it was that experience I described to you. It wasn't good. I can't do it again. And I don't know. I was hoping for a more organic experience with Culled Eyes, and I don't think that's what we're getting here. So this needs some major adjustment before I can say, like, it enhances your experience. And honestly, it was so short. I got there as quick as I could. We were pretty much just watching the map at all times. We got there as quick as we could, and we got into pretty much 2 fights over it, and it was over. Right? So I'm not liking how it works. It seems like a lot of work for not a lot of reward. And I also was able to 2v1 people over this. So like, yeah, I don't know. The experience there, like that was probably the most successful type of experience you could really get doing this thing. And it didn't seem good. So I hope that encapsulates all my thoughts on why I don't like this. Legendary fish. I said this from the start. When they announced this, they had a 5% and a 500%. I said that would be decent. Maybe it would create some interesting things going on with fishing. They changed it to a 1% at 2,500% effectiveness, meaning every 1% of our fish will be legendary. It'll be worth 2.5k% higher. This does not enhance PvP. It doesn't enhance the open world experience. This does nothing. 1 in every 100 fish takes a lot of hours to get. No one's going to sit on the water after fishing for 2 hours, get a legendary, and not immediately turn it in, right? I circled Gilead for a little bit. I don't see anyone. I changed servers. I circled, right? We went once along the coast on war mode. We went once along the entire coast on non-war mode. I didn't see a soul. I don't feel like fishing for 2 hours to see if I can get 1 trade pack's worth of a legendary fish. That sounds like the biggest waste of my time. If I wanted 12k, I would just run a trade pack across the water once. It would take me roughly 6-7 minutes. This is worthless. It doesn't add to our... And I said this earlier, but both of these suffer from the exact same issue. It is not adding an organic experience to an already existing mechanic. It is a completely separate thing that just happens rarely, and that does not add to our day-to-day excitement. The Cold Eyes, you could argue that there is some good in it. Like, you could maybe go there for a bit of excitement at times, but if you're avid PvPer and you really just want a potential chance at PvP at all times, this does not create that at all. So I just don't like it. Fishing buffs, 15%. That's a start. He did talk about how they're going to add bait, which will maybe add more of a buff. It's a good start. Fishing is still pretty useless and worthless. I don't see anything good in it. Infamy trade pack changes. And I also want to state, actually, before we leave fishing, I mentioned this earlier, a little bit of my thoughts and opinions on this game compared to Arcade fishing. When I was looking for an opponent to go kill on the water, I was like, man, it was so different in Arcade. I both fished and I pirated fishers, right? I did both fishing and pirating and fishers. I did a lot of fishing, and occasionally I would go pirate fishers. I would get pirated all the time. I loved it. The game had absolutely beyond top tier fishing of any video game that's ever been created. I stand by that statement. Fishing in Arcade was absolutely the best thing that I've ever experienced in an MMO as far as fishing or even organic PvP goes, right? Hands down. I almost go back. I've done like 5-6 fresh starts, and honestly, after playing Ravendawn, I feel like doing another fresh start of Arcade. There were no channel systems in Arcade, no. So the one of the great things about it was I was looking around for fishers to pirate, and because it's so empty, I was feeling like, man, if I find one poor soul to pirate, I'm not going to really feel great about it. You know, I'm going to find one poor soul, take his fish. Like, Arcade was so different. When you were looking for a fishing spot, let's talk about looking for a fishing spot in Arcade. You had fishing radar that would show you where the spots are. In an area as big as this, there would maybe be 4 fishing spots, right? In like this whole area, maybe 5. Sometimes you spent literally like record time I spent looking for a fishing spot may have been like an hour wandering the ocean looking for a fishing spot. Typical time was maybe 15 minutes, something like that. Maybe 10 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes instantly. But it was a wide area you had to search for a fishing spot, right? So you would search around for that fishing spot, and when you got there, because so many other people were looking for a spot, you would all get funneled into one location, right? Let's take a picture of this, and I'll demonstrate a little bit of what I'm talking about here. All right, so with this, you would have maybe a couple spots. You'd maybe have a couple spots that were built for fishing, right? There was like one there, there's one here, there's one here, there's one here, and there's one over here, and then maybe there's some more north. That's it. That's all you could find. Maybe one down here, right? It was so far spread that it funneled everyone together. You had fishing radar, so it was easier to find these spots. You'd wander around. This is talking about Arcade, right? Now, you would find your spot, and usually there were a couple other fishers there because fishing wasn't useless, and that's how it worked, right? You'd go there in Arcade. There'd be 4 or 5 boats around, maybe more, sometimes 10 boats fishing all together. Everyone had kind of a coexisting relationship with each other on the faction. When other people were fishing, you were friendly with them because they were there for you. You were there for them sometimes. Sometimes you'd arrive and you didn't even like the guild you were with. And it was all part of the feel. Now, pirates would have to do the same thing. They'd go out with their radar. They would look and they would find these concentrated spots where people were fishing. They would rock up. There were somewhere between 2 and 10 boats there. Now, more people meant that sometimes you could just ditch the other guys there and you'd be able to get away. It was almost like a safety mechanic. Other people would take the fall for you, right? Sometimes there were so many of you that you'd just be able to take the pirates on. There was a dynamic there. It was interesting. It was fun. It funneled us together. It was rewarding. It was interesting. What this game does with like 100 different locations, there's probably like 35 fishing spots all dotted throughout the whole thing. You know, fishing is not even worth doing. So like finding someone on this whole ocean would be a nightmare to do as a pirate. And beyond that, the fish, like this legendary fish mechanic, you're never going to find someone with a legendary fish. It takes hours to get a legendary fish. The whole thing, I feel like it's just a mess. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but like with Arcage, there was such an interesting design to how the conflicts were created. It was worth it. It was risky. There was, you know, it was just so good. It was so good. And I'm disappointed that fishing continues to be just this very boring piece of content that is so quiet and dead. I can't even find a single fisher. It's worthless. And if I were to find one person, it'd be some lost soul who doesn't even, probably just wants his Gilead runes, doesn't, you know, or hasn't figured out that fishing is the biggest waste of time in the game. And I would kill him for 10 fish now, which is better, but still it's just not good. The filling up of the boats in Arcade was so interesting. You would catch 5 or 6 fish. They were so good. Sometimes you get gigantic. Sometimes you wouldn't. You'd go back and forth. You'd turn them in. It was just a fun game loop. And I feel like they've just have not encapsulated that at all in Ravendawn. All right. I'm ranting. And I'm sorry, guys. I didn't want this video to be negative. But I am venting a little bit because I was excited to jump back into this game. I spent the last week not playing Ravendawn because I was waiting for these changes. And they've arrived, and in my opinion, they're kind of dookie. So let's move on. Infamy changes. I think this is a fantastic change. I've talked about this in the past. This is a good change. If someone has a trade pack and they're in a war zone, in a conflict zone, there should be no thought process behind this. You should just be killing them for their trade pack, right? Getting penalized for that seems bad. You are the danger. You, as a ganker in a conflict zone, are the mechanic of that zone, right? You shouldn't be punished for being part of that game loop. So I like the removal of Infamy from this. When you kill someone who has a trade pack, you should not receive Infamy, which I like. This is great. This is a good change that they did make. You can still run trade packs in peace zones. There should be something for casual players, but it shouldn't be overly punishing. And just actually, while we're on this, punishment for players PvPing is dumb. Get rid of it. Like, not the Infamy system. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm about to go into something else. On my experience I gave you earlier, where we were doing our Glimmering Pools Din Cold Eyes thing, after all was said and done, and I killed them the second time, and I brought those 3 measly Cold Eyes over for 3,000 EXP, I had to wait a good 7 minutes for my skull to go away. I sat around in the desert. I'm too high level for things around me. There's nothing for me to do. I can't walk into Ravencrest. I can't walk into Darzuak to the teleporter zone. I can't teleport to my house. I sat there for 7 minutes with a skull above my head with my thumb up my ass. It's not good. That should never be the case. Literally get rid of it. Whatever you want to do to the skull mechanic, I don't care. But that is the worst mechanic of, like, listen, you PvP'd. I'm on a war mode channel, by the way. We were on a war mode channel. And I think it was a 15-minute timer. We sat around for a long time. We sat around. Like, that is horrible. Just get rid of it. It's awful. It's like saying it's a bad mechanic. I just wanted to touch on that because we did sit around and it just doesn't feel good. So, like, that stuff, awful. Optimizing channels and capacity. This was good. They squished the channels up because obviously population's a little bit lower. Now, what my experience with not really seeing anyone here, we are late at night. It is 3 in the morning now. We started at 1 in the morning. We are late at night, and so the channels being squashed I really like. I'll have to try some of the action during the day, but honestly, I don't know if I will, just because of the way the Cold Eyes mechanic works. I don't really feel like I can participate. Like, for now, for example, right now, neither of these are really for me, right? So, like, I don't think I'll return unless they change this up a little bit, and I'll be waiting the next change on either an additional something. But anyways, the channel's capacity is just a good idea. Alter it based on population. They're selling a new skin bundle. We'll pass over that. There were some fixes. Party increase is probably good. I don't know. No one, I think, in my guild is even playing anymore. Or there's a couple people online. Worlds is online. But yeah, no one's really playing anymore. Road Bull. Everyone's kind of been out for 2-3 weeks. So yeah. I don't know if there's really anything else here. 1.7 and beyond. They're talking about guilds and guild force and strongholds. This stuff could be good, but as it stands right now, they need to figure out their day-to-day organic PvP. Again, guys, I'm sorry if this video is going to come across as overly negative. I am trying not to vent or anything, but I was looking for. I was playing Albion Online all week this week, as well as like Deep Rock Galactic, Helldivers. And I was like, we'll go back to Ravendawn when they add the Cull dies. They'll go back to Ravendawn when they add, it'll enhance the entire experience. We'll feel like grinding might be fun. We could get into something. It's that promise of potential PvP that keeps people going in games like Albion. You go to do your PvE, there could be excitement. If there's not, you got profit. That's the exact same way that extraction looters work. You go into a raid in Tarkov, you know, maybe you get a good fight, maybe you don't and you get some good loot, and there's like, oh, I like both outcomes. That was great. In this, they added like a weird little, very limited arena that doesn't feel like it's even got any sort of reward. This is not what I was looking forward to with this patch. Fishing, I already said wouldn't work. I don't think it works. And I don't feel like fishing for hours for a legendary fish. So all in all, not a great patch. I really do hope they fix it. I feel like they have a good base game. Like I said at the start of this video, 1 through 45 was a fantastic experience. And all we really need is some more promise of organic daily content. And we'll just have to wait and see if they add it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Devs, if you guys see this video, I'm rooting for you. I will try your next changes. I really want to see this game succeed. But I was a little disappointed with this patch, and I'll be waiting. I don't think I'm going to play right now. I will wait until more is added. But guys, that'll be it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you around.